Everybody, welcome to Bad Banter, where we feature some incredible voices from the security industry and share awesome stories about our thoughts on the future of the industry, as well as the importance of credentialing and how it enables organizations to better recognize and connect people. I'm Lindsay Martinez from Badge Pass, and I'm really excited to introduce you to today's guest, Jake Voll, who is the CEO at SS and SI Dealer Network. Jake, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, Lindsay, thank you so much for having me.
I'm excited that we were able to hook up. But before we get started with today's questions, can you do me a favor and just tell us a little bit about your company? Like, what's your go-to response when somebody asks you, so what is it exactly that y'all do?
Yeah, so we're a value-added distributor of security and low voltage products. And in a world where distribution has become highly commoditized, we found that we can stand out by providing a high level of service and value-added services, like, for example, our Blessed and Branded program, which is where we private label products for our dealers with their logos. That's been very popular for us.
I love that program. Like, I have been following along with what y'all do, and I obviously am big into branding. And I think that that's such an awesome opportunity for systems integrators to promote their brand and not just the brands that they represent.
Yeah, thank you. I think a lot of folks they spend sometimes their careers or lifetimes building their brand, and so we understand how important it is to them, and it's exciting, I think, to be able to support their efforts to reinforce their brand.
I love that. So I mentioned I've been following along with you. I would say that you're probably one of the more recognizable and like active voices online as it relates to the security industry, especially on LinkedIn. There's always a few names that pop into my head of people that you typically see being very vocal, and you're one of those. But for me, I really personally enjoy the way that you kind of approach that. You do kind of a lot of storytelling on LinkedIn, and it's a great combination of like your personal life and your work life, and that space tends to be like very corporate
Yeah.
and like polished. And sometimes I love like getting away from the technical specs and hearing some of that personal stuff that, especially that you're sharing. So, what inspired you to like start doing that? And how has that impacted your business, like sharing the personal side of things?
Yeah, I think that, I look at LinkedIn as it's almost like having dinner or drinks with a customer. You wouldn't just talk business all the time. People do business with people, and I love learning about, the people that I get the opportunity to do business with. I love sharing about, my life and my experiences. For me, I realized that if I was to reach, all the folks that I wanted to reach in the industry, that there was not a better platform to do it than through social media, specifically LinkedIn. We leverage Facebook a lot as well with an industry Facebook group. But I think that, again, people do business with people. People prefer to do business with people they know, like, and trust. And I love how often I meet people in person for the first time, and they say, "Gosh, I feel like I know you." Right? Like that's the mission. I hope that it's funny because I walked in. A friend of mine invited me to a conference that he was going to for work, and it was unrelated to the industry. And I got there, and I went to the cocktail party, and it was such a different experience for me because nobody knew who the heck I was, right? And I'm like, oh gosh, like this must be what it feels like for people to go to like a work thing for the first time and have to start up conversation with random people. I feel like social media has really given me a superpower to go to an industry event, and people are like, hey, it's Jake from LinkedIn, or Jake from State Farm. I always like that one too.
Yeah, Jake from LinkedIn instead of Jake from State Farm. That's funny. You just need a red polo next time
That's
you're.
right. Just own it, lean into it all the way.
You're absolutely right, though. I mean, I just started getting active on it last year. And I mean, think about it. Like, we're having this conversation as a result of finding each other really on LinkedIn and being inspired by some of the stuff that you share and what you post. So I think that that's really cool. And there's been a lot of connections that I've had the opportunity to make as a result of that. And surely you too. So if anyone's thinking about posting something on LinkedIn, like, just do it.
Yeah, for sure. And don't stress about it. I feel like somebody said recently that, a lot of times when people start posting on LinkedIn, the first time they might get two or three people engage with it. Maybe only 50 or 100 people see it. But But gosh, if you had an opportunity to walk into a room and tell 50 to 100 people who you are and what you do for free, and you could do it easily, you'd 100% be for it. I think most people would if they're, if they're looking to grow and promote their business.
I definitely agree with you. Do you overthink what you're going to post? Like, do you have a creative process? Do you plan in advance, or are you like a wing it kind of guy? And like whatever's on your mind, you just post it in the moment.
Yeah, I think it's a strength and a weakness for me. I'm a wing it all the time kind of person. And I used to worry about it more. I used to worry about, saying the right thing. But I think you can only hold up an act for so long.
Mhm.
Right? Like if you want to present yourself in a certain way and be inauthentic, at some point you're gonna slip, you're gonna say the wrong thing, and people are gonna realize, hey, like that's not actually who this person is. And I was at a conference recently, and this guy's talking about social, and he's like, hey, like, use social media to promote yourself, promote your business, but I have to tell you, if you're a jerk in real life, you're probably gonna seem like a jerk on social media too. So disclaimer, if I think social media is a really great opportunity for folks that are like decent people. If you're a jerk, maybe just have your marketing folks do it, like just hire a friendly, nice marketing person and let them do it because um, your personality will come out online.
It definitely does. And to your point, though, like it's why people can approach you then and say, like, oh, I feel like I know you. Because if you're not genuine or you post stuff that's not consistent with how you are, like I wing it too on LinkedIn. Like I don't have, I wish I had a strategy, but I just say things that are on my mind and share pictures of stuff that I'm encountering. There's no planned in advance strategy. That's what our marketing team's for. Like Lindsay's thoughts on LinkedIn are Lindsay's thoughts, which is why when you meet me, you're like, man, you really just say what you're thinking. And I'm like, you're the same online.
Yeah.
And I think that that's true for you too.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of people leveraging AI right now for their social. And the challenge is that at some point you have to meet people in person, and like ChatGPT isn't going to have a conversation for you, right? Like you're going to have to talk to people. It's funny because it was a little bit embarrassing, but I met somebody and they said, "Gosh, I feel like I'm talking to your LinkedIn." Like I'm telling them stories and like I swear I've heard this story from your LinkedIn from years ago, and so. Um, I think there's that too, right? Y- People are going to have an expectation when you meet them in person that you are going to be the same person that they, quote unquote, met online, and so far so good there.
Yeah, I love that. What is, I mean, you talk about storytelling and sharing stories. Like, what's a post or a story that you told that like unexpectedly resonated with people? And like, why do you think it hit home?
Yeah, I always tell people that I'm a son of an alarm salesman. My dad sold alarm systems door to door, and I posted this post probably a few years ago about sitting in the back seat of the car. My dad sold alarm systems door to door, and I can distinctly remember sitting in the back seat. He would see a U-Haul pulling into a neighborhood, and he'd follow it in. They'd pull up to the house that they were moving into, and he'd walk up and introduce himself and sell them an alarm system. And so I rehashed that story, and I tell folks that I had a backseat ticket to Sales 101. But one of the things that one of the takeaways from it was I learned later on he hated doing it. Like he's more of an introverted person. He likes people, but it's uncomfortable for him to go out and meet people that he doesn't know. And he did it anyways. And I think that story of grit, of resilience, of hustle. I think it resonates. I think it resonates with a lot of people.
Mhm.
That's how they feel, or they aspire to, kind of do that. And it took off. It got like a ton of engagement, and I think that's for me. I didn't go through the corporate ladder. I'm not some, distribution exec that's just here in the security industry because, I understand logistics. I grew up in the alarm business, and so for me, I like that story because it kind of shows my roots in the industry, and I think it gives people a window into kind of my philosophy and mentality on getting out there and getting after business.
I like that. And it's easy for people to relate to stories about like how they grew up. And so like me, I'm like, man, I grew up in the industry too. Like my mom sold ID systems. Like, she was in the security industry and owned a systems integrator my whole life. And so similarly, like I have stories of printing badges as invitations to my birthday party. Like that was
Oh
super
my
cool.
goodness,
Like
that's awesome.
what 6-year-old doesn't print ID badges as invitations to their birthday party? Every 6-year-old, I thought. And so like, I think that's funny to hear, and I think that's cool, like to hear about your childhood and growing up in it, and then how you turned it into something. And people love stories about people for sure.
Well, and I think that there's a lot of folks in the industry that are second, third, fourth. I think of the Doyle family, and they're now the fifth generation in the security industry. And it's just, it's amazing to me to see how deeply rooted some of the folks that I know are in this industry. And people come and go, and there'll be, executives that come into the business for a time and do something else. Um, but I think that there's this core group of people that just never seem to go away. And I guess I hope to be a part of that core group that you just can't get rid of, and maybe my daughter will be, slinging alarm panels 20 years from now.
Who knows? I also am not going away, so I'm with you on that one. You talk about the industry, and there's been a long history of it and tradition rich people who stay. And I jokingly say that it's a little bit incestuous, the security industry, because people do
Sure.
seem to stay. But like some of that's awesome because it's we've had the opportunity to see it evolve. And so, like, I think that the industry's really changed a lot in my 15-year career within it. And so, as you look at the industry and you think about like the future of physical security, like what trends are you seeing, or what things do you think that we're actually not talking about enough as an industry?
Yeah, so I think that if my take on it is that innovation is important, that we have to look at this new technology. I think that a lot of the folks that have been in it a long time have gotten comfortable with some of the traditional stuff. Um, I see a lot of new folks come into the business, and they want to be very disruptive to the point that they want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak. But I do think that uh, a lot of the traditional ways that we do business, and also the standards that have developed over time, are important. And so, when I look at the future of the industry, um, I think that there's going to be I think that there's going to be some new stuff coming out. Particularly, I see everything through the alarm industry lens, so I know you're kind of
Like
adjacent.
adjacent, we're
Yeah,
adjacent.
yeah, we have it all together. But uh, we see definitely a trend towards more video, uh, more rich content, or data being delivered to our central stations, so that they have relevant, actionable information. Um, I think that's the most important thing we can deliver for our end users is relevant, actionable data. And whether that's for alarm monitoring, or whether that's for access control systems, understanding how your facilities are being used, um, we have to get really, really good about taking that data, um, analyzing it, parsing it, providing it in a usable way for end users or our emergency responders.
Do you think at all that there's like a shift in how end users want to buy, or like what they want their experience to be? And like, can you speak to that?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of, we talk about traditional companies. For a long time, there's been a lot of staying in their own lane, whether they're fire alarm contractors or uh, burglar alarm companies, access control companies, and we've seen um, end users are looking for systems integrators, right? They're looking for comprehensive solution. It's complicated because we have a shortage of technicians in the industry overall. And if you looked at the percentage of technicians that are so well-rounded that they understand diverse systems and how they come together and integrate. That's a challenge. But I think that the end users, they're demanding it, right? They have to have all of these things tied together. Access control and fire alarm is obviously tied together. Access control and video is a relevant and important integration. And when you bring all of this stuff together, gosh, the user experience, uh, especially when we can get it all behind a single pane of glass, man, it's a game changer. And it makes them sticky, right? Like when you're offering more of a bundle of solutions, and your customer can't get that from just anybody else. I think that makes them sticky. So systems integrators should be looking at it. Security integrators that aren't recognizing that they have to become a systems integrator need to graduate to that. And the end goal is delivering what the customers want, so that they stay with you long term.
You're so right. It's why, I mean, like we jokingly said, like we're adjacent. It's why so many of the conversations we're having with new partners is about them trying to establish greater stickiness with their customer. And
Sure.
so for us, like as the badging interface and like the credential issuance experience, like that lines up perfectly with door access control and other stuff that the customer is going to do with a card, and future opportunities for tracking and logical access and other expansion points, where a customer systems integrator can get in maybe at the ground floor. And I mean, we always say when you own the card, you own the customer. But it gives them the opportunity to continue to grow and expand within that. And customers, when they love doing business with you, want other avenues that they can do business with you.
Yeah, and we just saw actually one of our, I would say, a more traditional alarm company. They just provided a solution for a country club that needed QR code credentials in, because not just for their access control, but also for amenities and for point of sale. And so, you just look at what you can do with um, credentials, badge pass, and provide more than just a solution for opening a door.
Yeah.
I think it opens a door to a lot of other opportunities.
There you go. I love that. That's awesome. Well, if you could rewind to your early days and give yourself one piece of advice, knowing everything that you know now, what would that piece of advice be?
Somebody said recently to me, they said, Jake, if you do good work and work long enough, you'll have a bucket of money come to you. And I have not yet had a big bucket of money come to me, okay? I make a pretty good living, and I think that for the first few years, um, just struggling through it, really trying to build and facing obstacles. I think I know I got really discouraged. And if I could go back, I would tell myself, hey, hang on, it's going to get a lot better. You're going to make a decent living. Uh, and I think that a lot of people that are in the beginning stage, it would be helpful if somebody could tell them that, right? I meet so many young people that are, um, they want to get to the bucket of money today or tomorrow. And that's not how it works, right? You have to work towards it. Um, I'm thankful that I had some folks in my life that encouraged me and saw the potential that I didn't see. And so I would say that if there's anybody listening that feels discouraged, uh, look for those people that believe in you, those people that are the ones that speak confidence into you and tell you about, hey, this is what I see for your future. I see the success. I see what you can accomplish, because on your worst days, you got to have somebody to call. And so I wish I could go back and be that person for myself back then, but I'm very thankful for the folks that were that person for me along the way.
Not only to encourage you, but also to give you a kick in the butt when you need one.
Yes, yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think that you need somebody that'll kick you in the butt once in a while.
Absolutely. I think the irony of all of that is that, you're kind of speaking to like you have to be patient, except that most aggressive, ambitious entrepreneur-like human beings are naturally not patient humans, and we
Yeah.
want results quickly. Unfortunately, there's no magic like rainbow with a pot of money at the end. You
Yeah,
gotta work
but,
hard for it.
but I think that if you timeline things, like it, that I identify with what you just said so much. Like I totally lack patience. I want to get there, right?
Yeah.
But what I found is helpful when you timeline things, when you look back, hey, where was I a year ago? Where was I 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago? And you start to look at history. You get the benefit of seeing progress over time. And if you're intentional about that, it can help you um, maybe be a little bit more patient. But no, I'd struggle. It's a tough one.
It is. And the key is looking back. Like it's easy to just constantly be striving for the next thing and not
Yeah,
take a minute to reflect. So that's something all of us, myself included, could probably do better.
for sure.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. You have been so much fun to chat with. I'm sure you and I could continue on for hours, probably, talking about some of this stuff, but really just insightful nuggets and takeaways that you've shared. Thank you for sharing some of those with us.
Oh yeah, glad to chat with you.
Well, before we wrap, we have to do one of my favorite segments, which is Badge Blitz. And so Badge Blitz is something that we just added this season, but it is basically a 60-second timed series of rapid fire questions. You do not have to prep for this. In fact, you could not have. But as I did not send you these questions, but basically go with your gut. Like these are gut feelings, whatever comes to mind when I ask you these questions. All right.
Okay, cool.
You ready?
Yep.
All right. What is one piece of advice you wish you could give to every new hire in the security industry?
Find a mentor.
Love that. If you didn't work in the security industry, what would you do for a living?
I think I would do real estate development, real estate investment. That would be of interest to me.
What is a podcast that you never miss an episode of?
Well, I'm always on probably with Jake, but that's because I'm hosting it. I really I have to say I have to get better about podcasts. I'm embarrassed to admit I don't follow many podcasts.
All
I'm
right,
gonna definitely tune into Badge Pass from now on.
there you go. If your leadership style was a movie title, what would it be?
Uh, well, it depends on the day, I guess. I think we ran out of time.
No, no, you can still answer. You're not out of time. You can still come up with something.
You know, I don't know. On my worst day, maybe it's Armageddon. I have a hard time on my worst days. But I'm thankful for again, I'm thankful for just a really great team of people.
No, that's awesome. I'm sure it'd be something about teamwork. And I don't get Armageddon vibes from you, just so you know. And I doubt your team would say that that would be the movie title either. So, well, thanks so much, Jake. It was really fun chatting with you. I really appreciate your insight. You shared some great stuff with us today. So thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thanks for having me, Lindsay.
Absolutely. And to everybody else, we hope you'll join us next time as we take you beyond the badge.